Every algorithm needs somewhere to stand before it can take its first step. For the Simplex method, that somewhere is a corner of the feasible region. And usually, it gets one for free. When every constraint says at most, the origin works. Produce nothing, use nothing, break no rules. It is a corner, it is legal, and the Simplex method can start walking from there. But change one word. Say at least instead of at most, and the whole region lifts away from the origin. Now the point you were going to start from is not just a bad guess. It is out of bounds. So what do you do when your algorithm has no legal place to begin? You invent one. Carefully, temporarily, and with a firm plan to take it back. Let us see exactly where it breaks, in algebra rather than pictures. An at most constraint becomes an equation by adding a slack variable. Set the real variables to 0 and the slack takes the value 4. Non-negative, perfectly legal. And because that slack sits alone in one equation with a coefficient of +1, it hands you a ready-made basic variable. That is the free start. Now the at least case. To turn it into an equation you have to subtract a surplus variable, measuring how far past the requirement you have gone. Watch the sign. Set the real variables to 0 and the surplus comes out at -4. Negative. Every variable in a linear program must be non-negative, so the algorithm cannot go anywhere near that point. Equality constraints are worse still. There is nothing to add and nothing to subtract. No spare variable at all. So two of these three cases leave the Simplex method with no basis to start from. The machinery is fine. It simply has no ignition. If the problem will not hand you a basic variable, manufacture one. Take the at least constraint, keep the surplus, and add one more variable with a coefficient of +1. Now set the real variables and the surplus to 0. This new variable equals 4. Positive, legal, and standing alone in its equation with a coefficient of 1. That is an identity column. The Simplex method has its basis back. It is called an artificial variable, and the name is honest. It measures nothing. No units, no meaning, no place in your factory or your budget. It exists purely so the algorithm has a corner to stand on. So the whole bookkeeping fits on 3 lines. At most gets a slack, and the slack doubles as the starting basic variable. At least gets a surplus and an artificial. And an equality gets an artificial on its own. Here is the catch, and it is the whole story. At that manufactured start you are sitting at the origin, 4 short on one requirement and 6 short on the other. The artificial variables are exactly those shortfalls. A positive artificial means a constraint is only being met with the help of a quantity you made up. So feasibility for the real problem means one thing, and one thing only: every artificial variable is 0. Both methods you are about to see are just 2 ways of forcing that. The first way to force artificials to 0 is blunt and effective. If you do not want the algorithm using those fake variables, make them ruinously expensive. For a minimization, add a cost of capital M on every artificial, where M is a symbol standing for a number bigger than anything else in the problem. For a maximization, subtract it instead. Either way, A positive artificial wrecks your objective. M is not a number you choose. It is a number you promise is large enough. Next to real costs of 2 and 3, treat it as effectively unbounded, so the algorithm's cheapest possible move is always to get rid of an artificial. One piece of bookkeeping before you can iterate. Because the artificials begin inside the basis, the objective row is not consistent yet. You price them out, row reduce until the artificial columns read 0 at the bottom. That is what pushes M into the reduced costs of the real variables, and those M terms are the pull toward feasibility. Once an artificial leaves the basis, it never returns. When the last one is gone, you are simply running ordinary Simplex on the real objective. Let us run one all the way through. Minimize to x1 plus 3x2, subject to at least requirements. Each constraint gets a surplus and an artificial, and the objective picks up M times each artificial. Set the real variables and the surpluses to 0, and the starting basis is a 1 equals 4, a 2 equals 6. Price out the artificials, and here is the opening tableau. Look at the bottom row. Every entry carries an M, and that is exactly what we want. For a minimization, we bring in the most negative reduced cost. Compare to minus 2M with 3 minus 3M. Since M is enormous, the one carrying 3ms sits further below 0. So x2 enters the basis. Then the ratio test. 4 divided by 1 is 4. 6 divided by 2 is 3. The smaller ratio wins, so the second row leaves. That is a 2, thrown out of the basis on the very first pivot. Pivot on the 2. 1 artificial down. In the new tableau, the x1 column reads 1 minus m over 2, still the most negative thing on the board. So x1 enters, and the ratio test, 2 against 6, throws out a 1. Both artificials are gone. Every reduced cost in the bottom row is now 0 or positive, so this tableau is optimal. x1 equals 2, x2 equals 2, and the objective value is 10. And notice what is not there. No M anywhere in the objective value. That detail turns out to be a whole diagnostic on its own, and we will come back to it. Here is the same answer geometrically. Both requirements are tight at that corner, and the objective line comes down and just touches it. The penalty did all of its work quietly in the background. Big M works, but dragging an unspecified enormous symbol through every row of arithmetic is awkward. By hand it is tedious, and in floating point on a computer it is dangerous. A huge M can swamp genuine costs of 2 and 3 and quietly destroy your precision. The two-phase method reaches the same place using ordinary numbers. The idea is to stop trying to do two jobs at once. Become feasible first. Optimize second. Here is the whole shape of it. Add the artificials. Run a first phase whose only goal is to get rid of them. Then ask a single question and branch. Phase 1 throws away your real objective completely. Every real variable is given a cost of 0, every artificial a cost of 1, and you minimize the total artificiality, W. Think about what that quantity actually is. It is the total amount of made-up material the solution is leaning on. Drive it to 0 and you are standing on a genuine feasible corner. Then check. If the minimum of W is 0, delete the artificial columns, restore the real objective, and run ordinary simplex from that corner. If the minimum of W is anything above 0, stop. No feasible solution exists. Same problem, same two artificials, same rows. Only the bottom row has changed. -2, -3, 1, 1. No n. Just numbers you could do in your head. -3 is the most negative, so x2 enters exactly as before. The ratio test is unchanged, 3 beats 4, so a 2 leaves. The pivots are identical. Only the objective row differs. But watch what phase 1 is really doing out on the plane. You start at the origin, 4 short on the first requirement and 6 short on the second. Total artificiality, 10. The first pivot takes you up to x2 equals 3. The second requirement is now met exactly, and you are only 1 unit short on the first. W has fallen from 10 to 1. The second pivot lands you at 2, 2. Both constraints are satisfied, nothing is borrowed, W is 0. Phase 1 is finished, and notice it never once looked at the real objective. It was walking toward the feasible region, not toward the optimum. Now delete the artificial columns, bring back minimize to x1 plus 3x2, and look at the reduced costs. Both surpluses price out at +1. Already non-negative. Phase 2 has nothing left to do. The optimum is 2, 2 with z equal to 10. The very same answer BigM gave, as it has to be. 2 routes, 1 destination. There is a bonus hidden in all of this. Artificial variables do not only start the algorithm. They also diagnose it. Suppose a model demands x1 plus x2 at least 6, and somewhere else, buried 3 pages away, x1 plus x2 at most 3. Those two half planes never meet. No point anywhere satisfies both. You may never spot that in a model with 50 constraints. The algorithm will. BigM terminates with an artificial still sitting in the basis at a positive value and an M still sitting in the objective. The penalty could not be paid off. 2 phase says the same thing in plainer language. Phase 1 grinds to its minimum and W stops somewhere above 0. It could not drive the borrowed quantity down to nothing. And read that as information, not as failure. A leftover artificial is the algorithm telling you your own constraints contradict each other. The arithmetic is fine. It is the model that needs another look. So, 2 routes and 1 destination. BigM does it in a single pass with a symbolic penalty. 2 phase does it in 2 passes with plain numbers. BigM is compact, which is why you will meet it in exams and hand calculations. 2 phase is numerically stable, which is why real solvers use it. And their infeasibility signals mirror each other perfectly, an artificial stuck in the basis, or a phase 1 minimum above 0. If you keep one sentence from all of this, keep this one. An artificial variable is a starting basis bought on credit. And the entire method, either version of it, is the process of paying that debt back down to exactly 0. Next time we turn a linear program on its side and find another program hiding inside it, where every constraint becomes a price and every resource carries a shadow value. See you there.